I really think that more developers should be paying attention to accessibility. So this can drastically improve the experience of a website for someone who's visually impaired. And hey, we have our skip link all ready. So what's this going to do? Well, yo, it's really good to see you today. Thank you for being here. My name is Taylor, and I am a web developer who's working on conquering my imposter syndrome. I want to be sharing more on this channel. I want to be coding more on this channel and just talking about the things that I am passionate about professionally. And one of those things is accessibility. I truly believe with all my heart that the internet should be for everyone. For most of us, the internet really changed our lives. And so I believe that everyone should be able to use it. I really think that more developers should be paying attention to accessibility. And I think we should be using some of these AI tools to help us build a more accessible web. There's a lot of just kind of hype. You're probably super sick and tired of hearing about these AI tools, but I do find myself using things like ChatGPT and GitHub Copilot to help me and to improve my efficiency and workflow throughout my, during my day-to-day as a web developer. I'm super excited about this video. We are going to be building a skip link, or rather we will be adding a skip link to the TailPress starter theme for WordPress. TailPress is a theme that I've been using kind of a lot, to be honest, and I really love it for the build processes, which work great. It works with WordPress's theme.json, so between the Tailwind CSS classes and the WordPress CSS classes, you can really accomplish a lot and create a great WordPress theme. I also like that it's pretty bare bones, so it doesn't get in your way at all, and I find at least that you don't have to be fighting the theme to do what you need to. So it has those great build processes, but otherwise stays out of the way. Like I said, I think that everyone should be paying attention to accessibility. And just to quickly show you the fact that Google pays attention to it, I have the Tailwind docs open here in a Google Chrome incognito browser. And one of the dev tools here is called Lighthouse. This is a Google product. If you've ever run a page speed insights test, that is Lighthouse behind the scenes. So I'll just go ahead and run a quick test here. Okay, so that finished up, and you can see that one of the 4 metrics that Google Lighthouse tells you about is accessibility here. 90 is pretty good, but obviously it could be a lot better. And so, one easy way to get started with accessibility is when you're running these tests, which I'm sure you're all running, pay attention to what it says. So here, buttons do not have a discernible name. So we've got a few different things that people can click on the page, and there's no text at all in them. It's just an icon. So if I was someone using a screen reader, it couldn't read anything out to me. And so a person who was visually impaired might have a hard time knowing whether or not they should click on this element. Anyways, what I really wanted to show you here was that Google obviously does pay attention to accessibility, and it can impact your SEO. But again, you should pay attention to accessibility because you're a good person and the internet should be for everyone. Now, I'm not saying that you should go back and rebuild every site you've ever worked on in a more accessible way, but I do think you should start paying attention to it. You should start learning about it, and you should start leveraging some of these AI tools to learn more about accessibility and just build a more accessible web. So a good way to get started here is just to ask for some tips. You can see that I asked ChatGPT, what are some accessibility tips from a web development perspective? And a lot of these are going to be obvious, or I hope they're obvious to you, but some are not so obvious. So the first one here, semantic HTML, pretty obvious, although it must not be for some people because I have seen way too many div elements that are styled and act like a button. But anyways, let's continue on. Keyboard navigation, again, fairly straightforward. A lot of people, especially visually impaired people, aren't going to be using a mouse, so they will likely be using a keyboard or some kind of other assistive technology to navigate through a web page. We can skim through these. Color contrast is obviously a very, very important part of the design process. And down here, you'll see skip navigation links. So what is a skip link? Well, it says provide a skip to main content link at the top of pages, allowing keyboard users to bypass repetitive navigation menus and go straight to the main content. So actually, Google has this. If we go over here to Google, I will search for Tailwind. Tailwind. When the page loads, if I just go straight to my tab key, you'll see that the skip to main content link shows up. So now if I hit return or enter, it will take me to the first link. So what does this do? Well, if I refresh the page and I don't use that, that means that I have to navigate through every single link here in order to get to the search results, which obviously takes a long time. Another website that does this is GitHub. You'll find these skip links all around. Again, the page is loaded. I pushed down on the tab key and skip to content showed up. So this means that, when I'm going from page to page on a website, I don't have to be tabbing through every single navigation link. So this can drastically improve the experience of a website for someone who's visually impaired because they can choose to enter into the nav menu, or they can skip it and get to the page content and find what they're looking for. So now that we know what a skip link is and why it's important for accessibility, we can check for it on websites. We can make sure that the websites that we build have skip links, especially if there are large navigation menus. And so let's go ahead and add one then to my favorite WordPress starter theme, and that is TailPress here. You can download the theme yourself from the TailPress site directly or straight from the GitHub repo. You're getting the same thing either way. We can see all of the files right here. By the way, shout out to the creator of this theme. He did a great job, Jeffrey Von Rossum. I would love to see the skip link get added to this. It is a great theme though, and like I said, it doesn't get in your way, so you are free to add skip links and make sure that you're building an accessible site with this starter theme. I'll go ahead and download the theme here. Now I use Local by Flywheel, and I already set up just like a demo site here. This is a completely fresh WordPress install. You can see I've got the 2024 theme installed here. So if I go to themes, I'll add a new theme and upload one. And I'll go ahead and add our TailPress theme here. Awesome. So I'll activate that. TailPress is installed. So if we take a look at the site, we do have a skip to toolbar skip link here, but there is not one for the site. So if I log out and that admin bar is no longer there, there's no skip link. It just goes directly to the content. And I think the intention here is because there's really no navigation unless you add one, the skip link is optional. I'm going to add a navigation menu. So I'll just go ahead and do that quickly. Okay, so I went in and quickly added a WordPress primary menu. I didn't need to add it to the theme or anything like that. That is already set up. So the TailPress theme comes built with a place for the primary menu. So this all works out of the box, but it's very, very easy to customize. So I'll go ahead and log out again. And you can see there's no skip link. So if I am here on the home page and then I go to the sample page, I have to go through the nav every single time to get down to the actual content, which isn't ideal as we already went through. And by the way, I know I went through installing the theme very quickly, but you can certainly ask ChatGPT every step of the way how to do this. This is all just default WordPress knowledge. And one of the great things about being a WordPress developer is there is a lot of content out there about WordPress on Stack Overflow, on the WordPress Codex, and just all around. And ChatGPT has gone through that. So you can ask these AI tools for WordPress specific knowledge because it has read the docs already. And so you don't necessarily have to. It doesn't always give you the right answer, but it can be great for getting information about a certain library or framework, or in this case, a CMS like WordPress. Okay, so now what I want to be doing, right, is adding a skip link to the TailPress theme. So I'm going to just ask ChatGPT that. And let's see what it says. I haven't gone through this before. Step 1 is to add the skip link into the header file. So it says to open header.php of your TailPress theme and add the following HTML. That sounds right. So far, so good. Because really all these links are anchor links to the main content or to whatever comes directly after that navigation menu. The first thing we want to do is add the skip link there in the header. And then the second thing we want to do is make sure that whatever comes directly after the header has the correct ID, so the skip link sends people there. I'll copy this one, and it says to add it to header.php. So I'll go ahead and just open my terminal. Again, I'm using local, so it's here. And if we look at the themes, we do have the TailPress theme there, so I'm going to just change directories into the TailPress theme. I'm really just opening the theme code here. You can do that however you like to with whatever your code editor is. I'm of course using VS Code right now. So this is the TailPress starter theme. And like ChatGPT wanted us to do, I'm going to add this skip link to the header.php. That's this file right here. Okay, so let's check our instructions. Add this markup right after the opening body tag. So here's the body tag. Here is our skip link, and you can see that it is skipping. The anchor link goes to something with the ID of main content. Step 2, add the ID attribute for the main content area. Now you do need a little bit of familiarity with the theme, or you need to maybe dig around a little bit to see where to add this. And so let's take a look. Okay, so here's the header. We want this to go directly below the navigation menu. So here's the nav menu. And great, we can see, so since this is header.php, just a little bit of WordPress knowledge here, this file will be the first part of the HTML for all pages on the website. So basically, this is going to be the opening div on all pages, which is great. So what we can do actually is we can change the skip link to go to content. So I'm just going to remove main here. So this is great. We've done step 1, we've done step 2, and we've made sure that we have the correct ID there. And step 3 is to add the CSS for the skip link. So let's go ahead and actually look at our WordPress installation right now. I just refreshed. I'm going to hit tab. And hey, we have our skip link all ready. So what's this going to do? Well, if I go here to the sample page and I don't use the skip link, I have to go through the nav again. But if I refresh, use the skip link, I've skipped the navigation altogether. And so I can then go directly to the content, which is awesome. We've made our website much more accessible, and we're only just getting started here building with TailPress. So just like that, asking ChatGPT some questions, we made the website that we're building much more accessible. But one thing that I was confused about is when I refresh the page, why is this skip link hidden until I use the tab key? Why can't I see it all the time? What's going on there? Because if you remember, we actually didn't even use step 3, which is to add the CSS for the skip link. And so this is the CSS that it wants us to add for this skip link class. And then when you focus on it, it wants to bring it to the top of the page. But we didn't even do that. So what happened? Well, if I inspect it, I'm inspecting the skip link here, and I'll use the dev tools to focus on that skip link. So here it is, it showed up. And we can see that actually ChatGPT had us use something with the class of screen reader text right here. And let's see, is that a Tailwind class? Is it a WordPress class? So let's find out. What does the screen reader text CSS class do? Okay, so it says that the screen reader text class is used typically to hide content visually, but keep it accessible to screen readers. And if I do a little bit more inspecting here, I can actually hover over the file that it comes from, and we can see that this comes from WordPress core. So this is a WordPress class, but Tailwind, instead of going straight to the Tailwind docs, let's ask ChatGPT. Is there a Tailwind CSS class for screen readers? And there is. You might be familiar with it. It's the SR only class. So we can use this class here instead of what we used before. Let's actually check that out. So we'll open up our code editor again. And so rather than these two, let's add some Tailwind classes here since we're using TailPress. Before I do this though, I did forget to do one thing when I installed the theme, and that is I need to run npm install from within the theme folder here. And that way we can use our build processes that it comes with. So now I can run npm run watch. And the development processes are working. So I can then start to begin coding here with Tailwind. I'll save the file. So this should be all set. It should be implemented. And if we go back to our sample page and refresh, you can see that it looks different. So it doesn't look quite the same, but it's still there. It's still working as intended. And so now let's just add a couple of Tailwind classes to our skip link to make it look a little bit better. So when a user focuses, we want the text to be, let's say, text light, and let's say a dark background. So I'm going to save. We can see the build processes are running. And now if we go back, refresh, and we can see that on focus, the new styles are applied. Okay, so it's working. I like that it's actually in contrast to the background of the main page, but I think we can make it look a little bit better because it is hard to see there. So let's just add a class or two more to our skip link. So we'll say focus, we'll give it a little bit of padding, but first we need to make sure that it's inline block, that the display for the link is inline block. Then we'll say focus, padding 4, and let's say text XL. Okay, let's see what we've got. Boom. All right, so just like that, we've created a skip link that looks good, that greatly improves the accessibility of the site we're building. And we did it all using help from ChatGPT. Again, ChatGPT can be a really great asset when you're using something like Tailwind because it's read all the documentation. So for Tailwind, for WordPress, for JavaScript libraries, it can really come in handy. And so that's how I've been using it an awful lot lately. I've been asking questions about frameworks and libraries anytime I need to integrate a new tool. Maybe I need to build a slider, so I reach for something like Flickity or Swiper, which are JavaScript slider libraries. And then I have GitHub Copilot or ChatGPT explain the documentation to me. Thanks for sticking with me. That's all I have for you today. But I make sure that every website I build now has a skip link, and I hope that this helps you build a more accessible web. I hope that you'll pay more attention to accessibility, because not only will it make the website more usable for everyone, but it can also be profitable. Like I said, Google pays attention to accessibility. Companies are being sued if their websites are not at an acceptable accessibility standard, if they're not constantly improving and focusing on that. So I really hope you'll pay attention to it. Like I said, I'll be making lots more content about it. And again, I really appreciate you being here. If you have anything about this video that you think you could improve, if you have accessibility tips for me or accessibility questions for me, please leave those down below in a comment. I'm just learning about this, but accessibility is very important to me. So while I'm not an expert, I'm very, very open to your feedback and to your comments and suggestions. So I'd love to read those. Thanks so much. Have a good one.